We're talking to the distinguished professor himself, all the way from Buffalo, New York, former dean of the School of Law at State University of New York in Buffalo, distinguished professor, still teaching law out there. He has a distinct listening post, and he's always watching what's happening in his mother country. That's why he writes a column every Sunday in the Sunday Standard, talking about the state of our nation. Professor Makau Mutua, live in the show today. Prof, yes. By the way, tweets are coming in very thick and very fast.
Yes.
And lots of messages. Let me just read a couple of them.
Sure.
Manu Chandaria.
Yes.
Hey, Manu, how you doing? He says, Jeff, say hello on my behalf. He says, if I remember, we sat together on a University of Nairobi council. Professor Mutua is always sharp on understanding the issues very fast.
Well, Mr. Chandaria, thank you so much. I also follow your great work, including your support for various philanthropic pursuits in this country.
Francis Atwoli,
yes,
Court 2 Secretary General, is chiming in.
Yes.
He says, Jeff, Prof has talked the truth about Dr. Kalwale, exactly what I said on your show about Kalwale. A lot of facts from the Prof.
We may not agree on much with Mr. Atwoli, but on this one, we are together.
Subanea from Isili says, this man, Professor Makau Mutua, is wonderful and intelligent. Kindly help us speak to the president on corruption cases. Hey, you're getting a lot of support out there, my friend.
We may have to pay a visit to Mr. Kenyatta. You may have to take me there.
Maybe you may have to call him Mr. President first. But you said you're 80%.
I made 80% all the way there.
That's not bad.
I can show him how to get to the other 20%.
I hope he's listening.
Yes.
I hope he's watching. Prof, let's switch gears.
Sure.
Now, there's a big tiff happening between the Parliament
yes,
and the Salaries and Remuneration Commission, SRC.
Yes.
Parliamentary members want to give themselves 17, count them, 17 allowances, including yes, something called night allowances,
yes,
whatever that is.
Yes.
And their salaries could amount to something like 2.9 million shillings
yes,
a month.
Yes.
For 461 members.
Yes.
My friend, come on.
Yeah, you know, Jeff, some things just astound me. You know, something just astound me. You know, you live in this country very well. You know what has happened over the last 5-6 years. You know that money has dried up. You know that the cost of living has gone up.
Yes.
You know that citizens are being overtaxed, okay? And you also know that it's not clear where all this tax money is going to. You know, we don't know where, to what use it's being put. On top of that, these individuals who call themselves members of parliament, and I must tell you that it's a bloated parliament, and that's why a referendum is necessary to reduce them, perhaps even by 2/3. There's just too many of them, first of all, okay? They consume so much, and yet now they want even more. The concept of public shame is unknown to them. You know, it's completely unknown to them, and I'm appalled. I'm completely appalled, and I hope that if ever that bill ever passes, I hope that it is vetoed on the spot.
Who's going to veto it when they're passing it for themselves, Prof? Who's going to veto it?
But I mean, if they pass a legislation, it must be signed into law. So by someone, and that person is the head of state. So I hope that the pen is waiting there to turn them back.
Ekuru Aukot
yes,
of Third Way Alliance
yes,
has come up with a new, he got 1 million signatures,
yes,
and he wants exactly what you said. The members of parliament reduced from 461 to something like 147.
Yes,
amongst other things.
It could even be less. We don't need even 147. Yeah, we could simply have one member of parliament for each of the 47 counties. Why not? Why not? I mean, the United States, as large as it is, has how many members of Congress?
535 total.
535 total.
Yep.
435 in the House,
yep,
and 100 in the Senate.
Correct.
In a country that is so vast. Why do we need more members of parliament than the United States? Why? It just makes no sense. And we also need to learn to find other ways to make money. People think that the only way you can make money is by going to government.
Yeah.
okay? We need to grow the economy. We need to find other ways of making money so that we can reduce corruption and the burden on the taxpayer in this country.
Prof.
Yes.
Critics would say, or rather MPs defend themselves by saying,
yes,
they pay medical bills, they pay funeral bills, they pay all kinds of bills, haram pays.
They pay those bills because they have impoverished the people. You know, they have impoverished the people. In what other country do you see elected officials going to pay bills for citizens? You know, in what other country? It's a shame that when someone dies, that people have to organize themselves in a harambe to contribute. We need to give people an opportunity to grow themselves, to grow the economy, so that people can support themselves instead of begging from other people to support them.
But the electorate will turn around and say, you know what, this MP of ours is so mean, he doesn't give out money, next time we're going to boot him out. So it's like they hold them hostage.
I just think that people are desperate. I think the people are simply desperate. I mean, I know individuals who have been in parliament for the last, 30 to 40 years, who have never done anything for their constituencies. Do those people really deserve to be in parliament? Those people thrive because the people whom they purport to represent are poor. That's why they thrive. They thrive on the poverty of the people. And I think we've got to stop that.
If we had a system in place, Prof.
Yes.
Would it work? Is this a failure of systems?
So I think that, systems do not run themselves. Systems are run by human beings, okay? Yeah. And one of the things that I keep on talking about, and I've said this to you before on this show, no state has ever become prosperous or great or powerful without a great elite. Obviously, the people must be there, and they must be, must have opportunities to advance themselves. But the elite must think about the future of a country and must point the way there. We have in this country a myopic, thieving elite that has no compunction, about stealing from the people, that does not put the national interest above the personal interest. Okay? So, I mean, someone said a long time ago that people get a government they deserve. So I think part of this also is the fault of the electorate. The electorate must stop electing the same thieves to parliament. Because there is a mutual relationship there that I think is very damaging. But I'll go back to this point to say that no society in history has ever become great without a great elite. And that's what we need.
At the same time, with this Punguza Mzigo initiative by Kura Court,
yes,
it was saying eliminate constituencies. Yes. Eliminate deputy governors. Yes. Eliminate women reps.
Yes.
Is this part of the process where you say reduce these numbers?
I would be very careful when talking about gender representation in elective offices. I think that was put there for a reason, because I think women are underrepresented. But I think beyond that, I would take really literally a machete and cut down these numbers, to a bare minimum. We don't need all these people. These people are elected to come and loot from us. We need to eliminate most of these positions. I mean, look, at the county level, now you have, what do you have? You have an executive, you have a legislature, and then you have that reproduced at the national level. Okay? You have that 47 times, and then at the national level, And you ask yourself this question: what are these people doing for us? Yeah. Except looting from us and taking our future from our children. So I think that is what we have to think about.
And the wage bill is ridiculous in all counties, Prof.
And the wage bill is ridiculous. And so for example, I was reading a report, a news report, I think it was on your show, where some MCA that had spent something like 140 million shillings on foreign trips.
MCAs.
MCAs. To do what? To do what?
They call it benchmarking.
No, what countries did they go to? What are they benchmarking? We have Kenyans in this country who are educated, who can participate in helping county governments and, deal with governance issues. You don't need to go abroad to benchmark anything. Why do we have all these universities which are educating, citizens?
Yeah,
Why?
I agree with you.
Yeah,
I agree with you. Okay.
It's ridiculous.
Let's switch gears, Prof.
Yeah.
The handshake.
Yes.
It's now a year in change.
Yes.
Is it working?
So this is what I think. I'm waiting for the Building Bridges initiative, okay, which I hope, I'm an optimist. I hope that it's going to give us something interesting. And then I'm looking for the political realignments for 2022. I think that we need a particular leader to take power in this country in 2022. I have said before, and I'll say it again on my show, I am contemplating throwing my hat in the ring. But I'm not contemplating that because I want to be president. Okay? I simply think I should consider that possibility given the poverty of leadership that we have in this country. And what I've said is that if a particular person with a particular vision for the future of this country does not run for president in 2022, I'm going to be in the race.
Prof, you're saying you are going to be in the race?
Because Jeff, if we stay on the sidelines, individuals who may have some ideas about the future of this country, we will be ruled by persons who morally, not as individuals, but morally, will be our inferiors. And if we are ruled by our moral inferiors, we shall be stopped from saying that, these people are ruling us and they are terrible people, because we will not have participated in trying to capture state power. So I think we have to think about that. We have to think about the possibility of ourselves going into the political arena to seek political power.
Prof, all the way from the outside looking in, don't you think Kenyans would consider you an outsider if you ran for president?
I think that is a wonderful thing to be an outsider. Look at what the insiders have done to this country. This country is looted not by people like Professor Makau Mutua. This country is looted by insiders. So the word insider should be a badge of shame, and the word outsider should be a badge of honor. Okay?
Would you run against Ruto? Do you think you can beat William Ruto?
And why not? The question is this: what ideas does this man offer? What ideas has he ever offered? When Mr. Kenyatta talks about corruption, he opposes corruption. When Mr. Kenyatta talks about the Big Four agenda, which, by the way, I think they're good ideas. Okay.
Yeah.
This man opposes them. Okay. When we talk about the rule of law, this man opposes the rule of law. When we talk about transparency in government, this man opposes transparency in government. When we try to, pass a new constitution in 2010, you know what happened? He opposed it. The man is intellectually bankrupt. What ideas does Mr. Ruto offer to, this country?
What if Raila Odinga was to run against William Ruto?
So I would have. So Mr. Odinga is in a special occupies a special place in the history of this country. No one, and you know this very well, who is living today has fought for liberty and freedom and democracy and human rights as much as Mr. Odinga has. As you know, he spent 10 years in detention, fighting for that. As you know, he's run for in several elections, and we think that at least 2 of those elections were stolen from him. The question that I would be looking for in 2022, if Mr. Odinga was to run, is to see what kind of platform he would put forward. And then I would make my calculation based upon the platform that he would put forward. Okay,
let me ask you this, Prof.
Yes.
Could Raila Odinga beat William Ruto if they went head-to-head?
Absolutely.
You think so?
Absolutely.
Where is that coming from?
Well, this is a question. The question, as I said to you before, there is going to be a coalition in 2022. Okay? The 2 individuals who are going to be the biggest movers to determine what happens in 2022 are going to be Mr. Kenyatta and Mr. Odinga. Yeah. And Mr. Ruto is on an out with both. You know, quite frankly, I don't see a pathway for him to the State House. You know, you remember what happened in the 60s when the Kikuyu and the Luo came together. You know, it was a special moment. We know that when they fell asunder, terrible things have happened in this country. I think people in Western Kenya still feel the pain of this history. From my own perspective, as a Kenyan, I think it is time to exorcise some demons. And one of those demons is the demon of exclusion. You know, there are some communities in this country that have felt excluded from the national government. And I think principal among those are the Luo, of course, the Somali, and of course, you know, there are others. And I think we cannot underestimate the symbolism of having a Luo president in this country. So even though, you know, I may run in 2022, my view is that I would have to look at, you know, what Mr. Odinga puts forward.
What if
he runs? If he does not run, then all bets are off.
What if he endorses someone like he did in 2002 when he said Kibaki Tosha? What if he endorses someone?
I think it will depend on the person who was endorsed. And when I look at the political, you know, terrain right now, I cast my eye, you know, across the bridge. I don't see many people that can be endorsed and whom I would support. I don't see them.
What if he endorses you?
If that would be icing on the cake. I mean, I would take that in a minute, Jeff.
And run with it.
And run with it.
Prof, let me ask you about, you mentioned a moment ago, the Big Four agenda.
Yes.
Affordable housing,
yes.
Universal healthcare,
yes.
Sustainable food, manufacturing.
Yes.
My friend, we've got 3 years.
Yes.
The president has been pushing this, and
yes.
it all sounds fantastic
yes.
on paper. Is
yes.
it achievable?
Well, I don't think that Mr. Kenyatta intended to, he maybe intended at some point to complete this Big Four agenda at the beginning. It's clear that the runway is now very short. You know, you know, planes, for them to be able to take off, need a long runway.
Yep.
And the Big Four agenda is like a long 747 or 787 plane. Lift off is a challenge. But I think what is important is, can he plant firmly the seed of the Big Four agenda and put it on such a track before he leaves office that it becomes irreversible?
Can he?
I think so. I think so. I think so. But I think he has to deal with the issue of corruption.
Yeah.
He has to deal with the issue.
Okay, why doesn't he put the Big Four aside and just deal with the big one, which is corruption? And all this will probably fall in place eventually.
I think I agree with you. I mean, if he was to do that, the other things will take care of themselves. You know, but I think, as I said earlier, there is a timidity to him. You know, corruption is like a raging inferno, which is consuming this country. Imagine a big raging inferno that is consuming this country. Mr. Kenyatta is fighting corruption as though it was scattered, you know, sort of wildfires here and there. You know, he gets up in the morning, he decides he's going to talk about it, and then he talks about it, he gets upset about it, and then he keeps quiet for the next 2 months, and nothing happens. I have not seen a single individual, big fish, fell to the ground by corruption. Okay, I want to see not just an arrest, you know, kind of big to do about arresting bigwig and so on. I want to see, you know, proper investigations done according to the law. I want to see prosecutions done, and I want to see convictions. Okay, yeah. Today I went and saw C.J. Maraga, and you know, we talked about you know, a partnership between the Kenya Human Rights Commission, civil society, and the judiciary. Yeah. And these are some of the issues that we addressed. We want to see a judiciary that is effective. Because as I told him, you know, that some of the judgments that have come out of the judiciary have not made us very happy. Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, so basically what I'm trying to say is that we need institutions that function, We need individuals of integrity and substance, you know, and we need the rule of law to function. And that will not happen unless Mr. Kenyatta, as I've said, puts his money where his mouth is. And he has not done so.
When you mentioned Chief Justice Baraga,
yes,
there's a lot of critics who say, you know what, that
yes.
arm of government, the
yes.
judiciary,
yes.
is the weakest link. Do you agree?
I think all these links are weak. It's very difficult for me to say that that is the weakest link when I look at the executive and I see, you know, thieves lined up from here to Garissa. You know, you know, when I look at the legislature and I see these guys trying to give themselves, you know, 1 million raises. Yeah. You know, I don't speak out of school when I say that the judiciary is riddled with corruption. You know, I mean, we've seen all kinds of cases brought against judges, including some senior judges. I'm not, of course, people are presumed innocent, but I think even the former Chief Justice, Dr. William Mutunga himself, said that the judiciary was hopelessly corrupt. Yeah. You know, and I don't think that has changed. You know, so I think all our institutions are weak. You know, because they are riddled with corruption, they are riddled with immorality, they are led and you know, inhabited by individuals who are mendacious, people who engage in skullduggery and underhanded tactics, people who have no compunction whatsoever in stealing. You know, so we cannot really you know, single out the judiciary and say, well, the judiciary is the only problem. The problem is a systemic one. It's across the board. You know, in high school, we used to learn something in mathematics called the lowest common denominator. Yes. Right? Yes. Is that what corruption is here? Is that what everyone strives to do? You know, I was talking to a friend of mine who lives in New York, and he wanted to send some money to Kenya to start a project, to invest back home. And he told me point blank that he would not send money to his brother or to his sister to start that project, because I would simply steal it from him. He said that? He said that. His own blood? His own blood, you know. This monster, this demon of corruption is so now ingrained in the culture of the society that people grow up believing that corruption is a good word. You know, I mean, people think that it's a nice word. It's like, for example, you are beautiful, you are corrupt, you know, you are beautiful. You know, it's very strange. Yeah. Yeah, because everybody wants something for free. Yeah. Everyone wants to cut a corner. You know, you go abroad and you come through the airport, okay? Many of those people are trying to shake you down for $20, for $5, you know? So the notion of public service or the notion of shame is not there. There's no shame. There's no shame at all. You know, so corruption is so endemic that I think, you know, it has to be fought, but I think it requires very solid leadership. And like I've said before, I said, Mr. Kenyatta wants to make this a signature issue for himself. He has not done what needs to be done for that issue. You know, Prof, some of your articles have mentioned the likes of Nurdin Haji, George Kinoti, and Tuareg, yes. You know, the threesome. Yes, yes. Do you think they are doing a good job? Do you think at least they're doing a credible job? I think that they want to give the public the impression that they are doing a good job. Yeah. Okay, and that is not a bad thing, because you want to build public confidence. But I think sometimes they just get ahead of themselves. You know, they arrest people and they arraign them in court before they have gathered all the evidence. You know, and that is not good. Yeah. That does more damage than good. You know, any good prosecutor or any good, you know, attorney will tell you that you need to build your case before you make an arrest, so that when you go to court, you can secure a conviction. And if you think you cannot secure a conviction, don't bring the case. Okay, I've seen that they are now resorting to hiring, you know, foreign, you know, counsel to prosecute their cases. That is not the problem in Kenya. The problem is not that we don't have enough lawyers who can prosecute cases. The problem is that they are not investigating and creating watertight cases. You know, cases must be backed by evidence. You know, and they are not doing that. You know, so I mean, I just think that they were given a job to do. They are eager to do it. But I think they are kind of rushing to impress the public before they have gotten their ducks in a row.
And when you see governors, for instance, Prof, when you see governors being accused of everything from murder to corruption to stealing, how do you think the rest of Kenyans view their leadership? Because, you know, the governors are accused and then they're let go and then they go about their business.
It's difficult to say because these governors are also re-elected, you know, when it comes to election time by the same people who, you know, who complain, you know. But it tells you something about the nature of our leadership. If you have so many people being accused of blatant theft in broad daylight, okay, from the very highest echelons of the state, what do you think our children are thinking? You know, your children and my children think that it's okay to steal, you know, because this is what we are modeling for them, this kind of behavior. This is a problem, okay? And you know, and so politics has, you know, has no place, in my view, you know, in trying to recover, our, you know, our society, because these politicians have given politics a very poor name, okay? And that's why I'm saying that that not only do we need a head of state or president who is morally unimpeachable, okay, who is not corrupt, about whom you can find no dirt. You need, you know, elected officials at all levels of society, you know, individuals of integrity, individuals who understand the national interest. Because I tell people always, and Kenyans say it themselves, that they only have one country, okay? You know, if you walk around in Nairobi, and anyone who has gone to the West or gone to the emergent countries in Asia knows what development looks like. Okay? Jeff, if you look at Nairobi, even in the tawniest, quote-unquote, areas, estates, there are open sewers. There's garbage everywhere. There are no sidewalks. There are vehicles running around belching, you know, killer fumes everywhere. You don't see that in any developed country. Okay? You know, so people, and this is why our people are running away, you know, risking their lives, you know, elsewhere, where they are treated like, you know, garbage.
Like slaves.
Like slaves. It's because we have failed to build a country that embraces and nurtures potential. And that is what we have to do.
Can we fix it, Prof? Can we fix that?
We can fix it, but only with new leadership. And that's why I'm telling you that I might, just might, be on the ballot in 2022.
You're serious about this thing?
I'm serious about this. I know you seem to be looking at me with skepticism. I don't know why you are skeptical, but I am serious about this.
Frederick Okango, who is I think the Secretary General of Third Wave, right?
Yes.
Third Wave.
Yes.
He says, so Makau Mutua wants to be president in 2022. Well, let him know that Constitution provision of citizenship and leadership says a state officer shall not hold dual citizenship. He has dual citizenship and therefore he's not eligible.
Well, this man seems to purports to know more than I do. But those are mere procedures. We are talking about substance here. Those are mere procedures.
In other words, you can renounce.
In other words, I think Kenyans are looking for a person of integrity, you know, who is a Kenyan. If the man thinks I'm not a Kenyan, let him come and confront me, mano a mano.
Prof, let's look at some tweets.
Okay.
Monica, you ready? Sankibet Richard says, Professor is just thinking. Nothing can stop the man with the right mental attitude from achieving his goal. Nothing on earth can help the man with the wrong mental attitude. A leader is someone who brings people together.
That is correct. That is correct.
Okay. Laura Kamenchu says, methinks, your words,
yes.
famous words. Methinks Professor Makau Mutua should ditch the American citizenship and run for office come 2022. We need his intellect.
Can she be hired my campaign manager? I'm advertising. I'm advertising.
Shady Opio says, tell Mr. Makau Mutua that inclusion is not accommodating or creating posts to every political bigwigs in the executive. This is a narrative created just to whip down citizens' emotions. In other words, if you create a presidency, figurehead,
yes,
prime minister,
yes,
deputy president,
yes,
2 deputy prime ministers.
yes.
You're satisfying a whole class of, you're just satisfying.
No, I understand where it's coming
Yes.
from, but inclusion has many facets, and one of the facets is symbolic. When people can see themselves in the state through their own people, they legitimize the state.
Correct.
So for example, when Barack Obama was elected president of the United States, black people kind of saw themselves as having a piece of that pie. Yeah. It's an important part of electoral politics.
But it's an illusion.
It can be an illusion. It is not always an illusion. It can be an illusion, not always an illusion.
Zaril Pablo says, but then again, the work of leaders is oversight. Why should you have over 300 MPs who can't help legislate and deal with the evil of corrupt state corporation CEOs? The same MPs are shouting day in, day out, they need more salaries. Punguza those MPs and counties.
I have nothing useful to add. That's a great statement.
Okay. Alex Owiti, professor himself, says, government is even planning to import maize, yet Rift Valley, the food basket, bread basket for this country, is about to harvest maize. Is it stinking corrupt? It is stinking corrupt in this country. We need to change. Parliament is dead, and the executive and the courts need to act.
It sounds to me like he's calling for revolution.
But Prof, when you're importing maize,
yes,
and you have a bread basket in your backyard.
Yeah, but the question is, who is importing maize, and why are they importing it?
Yeah.
Clearly they want to kill the local industry and then gouge us.
We're talking cartels, Prof. And
exactly.
The cartel, when you import maize from Mexico.
Exactly. Cheap maize.
Cheap maize.
Cheap maize from Mexico, which is basically dumped on the market. That's what's going on.
And then we allow it. And then you kill the farmers.
You kill agriculture in this country. You kill agriculture in this country.
That would never happen in other countries, Prof.
Well, it will happen in countries where there is leadership that has no national interest at heart.
David Machoka says, is Professor Makau telling us that reducing parliament and adding more executive seats will solve our problems? What democracy? And where's the future of Kenya?
Well, I think that what I said was that because of the winner-take-all nature of the top seats in the executive, we have had a lot of communities feeling excluded. All I'm saying is that expand the executive a little bit and eliminate many of these elected officials whom we don't need. I don't see how that can be a problem. I don't see how that can be a problem.
Okay, yes. Rodney Okoth has a question for you.
Yes.
Ask Makau Mutua, what happened to the agreement he deposited in a bank in New York whose contents he witnessed between Raila and Kalonzo? Is it earning interest?
I don't know what he's talking about.
I don't know either.
I have no idea what he's talking about. He pulled that one out of his backside.
Okay. Rodney, over to you. All right, Prof. Yeah. You said you're serious about running for president of Kenya in 2022.
I am.
If a certain individual doesn't throw his hat in.
Yes, correct. Correct.
And you're serious about this?
Yeah. It simply means, Jeff, that some people who are running for president are driven by blind ambition, and they'll do anything to get there because what's important to them is to become president. That's not my goal. I'm interested in a leadership that cares about this country, that has a plan for this country, so that I don't have to run. If we get that kind of person, I'll be thankful because I don't have to run. But if we don't, I'm going to have to.
Kicking and screaming.
Yeah, I am reluctant, but I may be forced to do it simply because no one else, has the vision that needs to, be put in place to reclaim this country.
At the end of the day, Prof,
yes.
Is there hope for this country? When you look from your outpost out there in
yes.
upstate New York,
yes.
Is there hope for your motherland?
So, I don't want to give you a long answer because I know you don't like long answers.
No.
I'll give you a short one. The kind of state that we have is a state that we've been trying to cohere since independence. Because, we were slapped together by the British, and we were forced to live together, okay? Our mission was to engage in a project of nation building, the kind of project that Mwalimu did in Tanzania. In Tanzania, there is a person called a Tanzanian. And if you ask them who that person is, they will tell you who that person is as an idea. If you come to Kenya and you ask a Kenyan, even our friends here, in the studio, you ask them, what is Kenya? Define Kenya as an idea. They will do what, when I asked this question, I asked my mother this question. My mother said, what kind of a stupid question is that? This is Kenya. That's what she said, okay? So the idea of defining Kenya as an idea is not there, because Kenya is not there as an idea, okay? We need to develop an identity, to forge an identity, so that this state is not reversible, okay? All successful states, are irreversible. They have an identity. We have none, okay? We are a kind of a loose coalition of, communities, slapped together by the British. We have not cohered. The future of this country depends on whether we can stop, we can start being a nation and not just a country or a state. Yeah. And we're not there yet. So that to me is a primary question. And that's a question that some people have talked about for many years. Yeah. How do we submit, the ethnic identities, to a national identity that we all can identify with? And we've not gotten there. When you write your articles every Sunday, Prof. Yes. And you've written for the last dozen years. Yes. Do you find they've had an effect? All I can say is this. In the public discourse in this country, there is a poverty of philosophy. And there's a poverty of philosophers. Okay? Now, there are people like yourself who educate us as Kenyans. Okay? Your journalism entertains, it informs, but it also educates. Okay? And there are a few other colleagues like that. I write like that myself, as you know, on Sundays. Yeah. And I don't dumb down my columns. I don't. What gives me hope is that when I walk the streets of Nairobi, or I walk the streets of Kitui, or I walk the streets of Baringo, people come up to me and they say, I like what you are writing. Keep writing. Okay? So I think there is a lot of interest and hunger for the things that I say, for the things that we say about, building this country and making it great. So I think that's there. So I think there is hope in that sense, because people, otherwise, why would people volunteer themselves to just come up to me and say, I'm not talking about one or two people, I'm talking about, a lot of folks coming up and saying, we like what you're doing. That encourages me. Okay? It tells me that I'm not simply writing for myself. I'm not simply, spouting off, every Sunday, without a purpose or without an effect. So I think there's an effect. And there's a reason as to why people watch you too. Jeff? Yeah. Yeah. They're watching to see if I make a mistake. No. They are watching. They are watching because they want to be lifted. They want to be encouraged. They want to be built up, and that is what that's what you do. Yeah. And you also bring guests here who. Most of the time, I would not say all the time. Not all the time. Most of the time, yes. Do a bang-up job. Sure. Yeah. But you know what, Prof? The best thing about this job? Yes. Next week, I can get to redo it and better it. So if I have a crappy guest one week, the next week I can hopefully make up for it. Yeah, and and I've told you privately and publicly this, you've set the bar very high. And there are a lot of young journalists who look up to you and who see what you do. I like the word incomparable. There's not another. There's only one and only. If you become president, can I get an interview? If I become president, you will come work for me. Monica, you can keep your job. Or maybe not yet. You come work for me. No. Personally, if you look at powerful states, you know, and I know we're about to finish, but when you look at powerful states, when a person is elected president, they pull people from all sectors. Yeah. You know, the highest performers. You need a team. You need a team that is informed. You don't need lackeys. You don't need hangers-on or bootlickers. Right. You need people who are professionals, and you're one of those. One more message, thank you, sir. Yes. One more message. Silas Jakakimba. Yes, I know him. Okay. He says, Salamu nyingi to the good Prof, fully aligned to his contextual justification for inclusivity. He is a sharp, brilliant mind and should come back, bro. Watching the show from Kingston, upstate New York. Oh, wow. Wonderful. I know the exact town that he's talking about. Is that right? Kingston, New York. Yeah, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. Silas, you know, good shout out, man. Good shout out. Prof, good to see you as always. Thank you so much. Thanks for your time, man. Thank you so much. And welcome back to Kenya. And congratulations on what you're doing in Kitui. Well, I think the proper way to congratulate me for what I'm doing in Kitui is for you to come and do a show right there. You invite us there? I'm inviting you. I'm inviting you there, and you know, I'll bring people from all walks of life in the district for you to. Just in case nobody's ever heard of it, what's it called? It's called Kitui Villa, and it's 1 kilometer outside Kitui town, in a secluded, serene area. It is investing back home. It is a place to be. Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Always good to see you. Thank you. Distinguished Professor Makau Mutua. He's teaching still at the State University of New York in Buffalo, New York. He's also chairman of the Kenya Human Rights Commission. This man calls it like he sees it. Read his columns every Sunday in your Sunday Standard. Soon to change, maybe, hopefully. We'll see that. But in the meantime, he always calls it like he sees it, and that's why we love to have him on the show every time he's in town. He doesn't come very often, but you never know. 2022, things could be different. Thanks so much for being a part of the show. By the way, if you're still watching the Nigeria-South Africa game, still 1-0, Super Eagles, 73rd minute. It's a wrap. There's a penalty to who? Penalty to who? South Africa? Should we stay for that? Oh my goodness, it's a penalty for South Africa. Oh my goodness. Oh man. It's going to fall flat. it's going to fall flat. We'll see you back here tomorrow, or rather on Hot 96 tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. with Professor Hamo on the hottest breakfast show in all of Africa. Hashtag Jeff and Hamo on Hot. And every Wednesday, remember, it's those 3 letters on the keyboard that follow each other. JKL. The score is 1-1. The score is 1-1. South Africa just scored. I see. It's all right. There's extra time and penalties. In the penalty, yes. Yeah, there's extra time. Yes, we'll see. Right. We'll see. Yeah. Thanks so much for being It'll be a major upset. Absolutely. Yeah. Good luck. God bless. I forgot my train of thought. Thank you for joining us. Good night, everybody. Thank you, Prof. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.